Indiana Congressman Marlin Stutzman, who took to X following the shooting, writing that, quote, "It is clear we have a growing political violence problem in this country. Bullets are consistently flying from one direction. This isn't politicization, it's fact. How do we stop the radical left from thinking this is normal political discourse?" And that congressman joins us now. You're right. It does feel as if this is becoming normalized.
It is. I mean, whether it's Charlie Kirk, whether it's President Trump, multiple times, it feels like the rhetoric and the attacks are coming from the left. I mean, one of the things that I noticed even just walking into the Hilton Hotel there in Washington on Saturday was the protesters outside. They were horrible. They were so nasty. And actually, I felt vulnerable a bit because of their behavior and their rhetoric. And then getting into the ballroom, I was surprised at the level of security. As you mentioned earlier, when you go to the White House, if my name doesn't match the registry going in, I've got to stand off to the side until they get my name correct.
Right.
And the level of security going into the ballroom, I think, was suspect. And that's where I would be, I think the Secret Service did their job protecting the president. But I think there's a lot of questions about what happened beforehand. I had ladies telling me that their bags weren't even checked when they went into the ballroom. So there's a lot of questions around the security there.
It is something else. And I keep coming back to the vulnerable. I mean, the president was protected. The vulnerability of the senior cabinet members, some of the most important and powerful people in this country right now, they were very vulnerable. I mean, if this guy was a little bit more intelligent about how he wanted to do this. When he went down, if he had gone down earlier, if he had gone down 45 minutes earlier, he went down to, I think it was level T is what it was. It was one floor down from the lobby. That's where I walked down to. And I came up to just a curtain and I just opened it and it was right there, the red carpet. And I saw, I saw Rubio, I saw Hegseth, Kennedy was there. He could have shot any of these people very easily. It would have taken nothing for him to do that, at least to take out one or two cabinet members. It would have been very simple for him to do. He just played it wrong, and that was to the advantage of everybody, and that's a good thing. But let's talk for a second about the ballroom, because they're going nuts over Trump in this ballroom anyway. He's brought this back, and this is a great example of why you should have something like this. Anything where these guys are going to be at, let's have it inside the quarters of the White House, because as you said, that's a very secure place to have it. Even John Fetterman put on X that this is why we need something like that. There's the post right there. That's a Democrat saying this is pretty obvious.
Yeah, and I think, too, the fact that there's other Democrats that are starting to say, drop the TDS. I mean, the perimeter around the ballroom was much smaller. I mean, we walked in and we showed a card about like this size,
right,
that had the details of the event on in our table, that I was supposed to sit at. But I could have taken that card and made multiple cards like that if I knew that that's what was going to happen. And there was no, we should have had like a QR code or some sort of code to be actually to be able to get in. But honestly, I think that ballroom at the White House should be built bigger at this point. That way we can have these bigger events and they can't say, well, that's not going to be big enough for the correspondent dinner, so we have to have it somewhere else. But this shows, again, this is not just about the security of President Trump. It's about the security of every president.
Right.
And also, it's about the security of all the people that were there. We were all very vulnerable the other night.
Yeah, you were right there, and they're, trying to get out of that place with all those people, it would be very difficult. And had I known that Rob had one of these, show what this looks like. I would have taken it because I could have gotten in with it.
It was the easiest thing. Anybody could have taken it.
Right.
Anybody could have gotten in. And on top of that, anybody staying in the hotel can just walk in freely if you just show your room key, which is nothing. This guy came in with a gun the day before.
And he had a key. He was staying there.
It's just, this is not where you put all the most powerful. I mean, you had Trump, Vance, you had Secretary of State, everybody there at the same time. This is not where you do this. This dilapidated 50-year-old hotel is not where you have an event like this. This is why you need the ballroom. Build it.
Well, the other thing I would say, too, is how did the shooter not get hit? I mean, those 4 shots that were right outside the door, I was towards the center, towards the back, heard those 4 shots. Those were some big rounds.
You heard them too.
And I know in Butler, when the shooter off of a roof shot at the president, he was dead within a couple of shots in a couple of minutes, or less than that, a couple of seconds after he shot towards the president. The fact that this shooter was on the ground and doesn't seem to have, one bullet in him anywhere is also baffling to me. And I don't know, I always appreciate our law enforcement in those situations, but it's questions like that I have where those were shots inside a hotel room and no one was hit, thankfully. except for the shooter, and he's there on the ground, and it doesn't appear that he was even hit.
Well, I'm sure that they were also taking that into consideration as they were shooting, because you had them all sort of gathered around there. But one of my friends who has worked events like this said he did it exactly the way you had to. You had to come in full throttle and just race through their element of surprise, and they had to be careful about who they were shooting at.
Right. And again, just the fact that you had guns in the hotel the day before, you can just bring a shotgun to the hotel and Trump's going to be there the next day, is crazy.
Well, Indy Congressman Marlon Stutzman, thanks for sharing your journey with us. Thank you. Well, coming up, the Virginia redistricting